if you have a question for Alex or for any of us, raise your hand, and Patrick has a mic. So come around and ask, or we'll go from there. We have our first question.
A couple questions, if I may. I am curious how you came up with the name of your company, SavorWe, and also I'm wondering if that type of business requires any kind of like liability insurance?
Good question. Both good questions. The name has to go to my dad. I was literally asked this question like a couple weeks ago. I need to find a list. I had a list of like 200 names and they were all trash, like so bad. And then my dad was like, he came from marketing most recently. He's just like, what about SavorWe, right? Like savor the moments together. Like there's a lot of messaging you can do behind it. I was like, boom, done. Like, let's do that. So I did not come up with it. My dad did. So I guess like part of me came up with it, but
genetically.
yeah, but yes, there's a lot of insurance. Not like a bunch, but we have like limited liability and umbrella coverages and all that stuff because you're not so much in the home. Like, I mean, we have it for the company, but like when you start going into like corporate sites and things like that, they have a lot of different requirements. Then obviously we want to, just in case some chef like burns the house down, which I hope never happens, but stuff does happen. So yeah, we do have that.
Hi, so earlier you said there was a lot of ego in the chef world. I used to work in the kitchen, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Has that influenced the way you do business in any way?
In what sense?
Like, has there ever been a moment where it's like, oh, we should have thought about that if, I'm just wondering if there's anything.
I think like we're being very open-minded with the chefs. There are a lot of things that they'll bring up that we didn't think about, right? So it's, because obviously like we made the app a bit more consumer-facing than we did chef-facing. And when I mean like the ego side, it's just much more of unrealistic expectations of things. But everyone I've worked with has been great and amazing. It's just like randomly you'll get phone calls where a guy's like, dude, I'm trying to make $300,000 a year. I'm like, buddy, like, you're not solving cancer or you're cooking food. Like, this is like, Jay-Z's probably paying that, but no one else. Like, it's just like that thing. But yeah, so I think the ego piece is just more of interactions. But like, I've always, like, we used to do a lot of town halls with the chefs and just ask them like, hey, what's working, what's not, because it's kind of like they're our customer too, right? So you have to interview both sides to really understand like how do you make it all work in the end.
Great question.
Very intrigued about your actual business. When it comes to produce, I was wondering how that's handled. Is it like the specific chef gets what they want?
Yeah, so they'll go out, we're working some stuff right now to do more like at cost. But right now all the chefs do all the grocery shopping. So basically they'll go in, they'll create their own menu and then they'll do the grocery shopping for the experience.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I have a question as far as like competition. So knowing that there's other, places that offer the same or similar services, how do you stand out against your competition?
Man, you're like an investor. I think honestly what differentiates us is everything's automated, like our tech's very sound. Again, there's nothing novel about like bringing a chef into the home, but I think the way we're looking at it is more of like a community lens. So if you can build, like tech's eating the world, and a lot of stuff, and a buddy of mine was telling me about this, but a lot of stuff more is going to be focused on brand and community, and I think those are going to be the companies that end up becoming successful. Is like if you can build the right brand and community messaging behind things, and I think you set yourself up for success naturally, because people enjoy supporting something like that. But technical answer, I would say our tech's pretty sound. Yeah.
Hi, I have a question regarding the app. Do you personally had the expertise to start building the app, or you hired someone, or your friends?
No, good question. My friend was going to, and then he left me out to dry. No, I didn't. But no. So my background at Accenture, I was doing a lot of like user story creation. So basically, I like wireframed the app and built out like what like this button's gonna do this. Kind of laid that all out, and then we hired a third-party development company out in the suburbs of Chicago. Yeah. So. Yeah, technical co-founder is always a good thing. Yeah, if you're doing anything in tech, like having a technical co-founder, if I look back, I was like, one thing I probably would have liked to have would have been that.
Get the talented people around you.
Yeah, right.
Excellent.
Oh.
I just wanted to know how you select your menus. Do you allow the creativity of the chef, or are there themes? How do you work that?
We will base it around the seasons. So we'll just be like, hey, summer's coming, throw together some summer type menus. But the chefs have full creative rights. We have a great chef working for us internally, and like some stuff will be like, hey, look, just a test. We'll be like, we made like 5 SavorWe signature menus at like lower price points to see if people would book that stuff. But most of the time, all the chefs just create their own menus. Because I think that's, and I might be stubborn on this, we might be getting a little more flexible down the road. There's a reason why the food's put together the way it's put together, like it tells a story, right? So I think when people come in, it's like, well, I don't want this dish, I want that dish. It's like, well, the whole menu's messed up, right? Because they're very thoughtful. Like chefs are very, very thoughtful when they go through that stuff. So we try to honor that as much as we can.
Could you share a little bit about how you've built your network down in Chicago, and then what you're doing to help bring the founders community together down there?
Thanks for the layup.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I love it. Networking. So I remember the first, like in college, it was like, you got to get a LinkedIn. I'm like, I'm not getting a LinkedIn. Like that thing's dumb. Like, and then I got a LinkedIn, and then I realized when I got out, I kind of alienated myself. Like no one, it's not like people wouldn't talk to me, but I was like in this new world, right? Like I went from having mentors and, you know, you're on different teams at Accenture, like you didn't have to worry about networking, but I've met so many cool people like quitting this job, and I'm talking like people running hundreds of $1 million companies, like crazy, crazy stuff because I became an entrepreneur. And one of the biggest things is everyone wants to help, except that one guy. But everyone wants to help, and because they've all been in those shoes, right? So like for me, the networking piece was more like identifying like who are the key players in the space. I used to get very jealous because it was always like, man, this person's doing this with this and this, and then I'm just like, I can do that. So I just like kind of reframed my thinking of like, you can meet anyone. Like you literally can meet anyone in the world. It might take a long time, but like you can do it, and you just slowly start like peeling back layers of like, and then LinkedIn became the most powerful tool because it's like, all right, this person's connected to these 8 people that I know well, and 2 of them I could ask for an actual warm introduction. So I think it's like really important keeping that in. And like back to our point earlier, like always doing good. People don't want to like work with arrogant, like ego-driven folks, and everyone is like to the point of like the craziness. Like there was a study that literally was like serial killers and Fortune 100 CEOs, and like their brain patterns are literally the same thing. One just chose like money, the other guy chose like really messed up stuff. But
The other one's not money.
yeah.
I'm thankful for everybody in this room that chooses money.
Yeah. But
No one knows.
it's to that point like. If you're just good and like you just hold like a good demeanor, like people will want to help you, and then like your network builds. And then on top of that, I've seen a gap over the last 3 years. Like there used to be a spot in Chicago where everyone would kind of hang out, and it's there, but it's not what it used to be. So like I started building. It's called Founder House. So it's like a community of just early stage and later stage founders at times. And the whole premise of it, it's me and 2 of my buddies have been doing this. It's like intentional networking, right? Like not like networking with a purpose, like not going into a room and be like, all right, I'm gonna hand out 10 business cards. It's like, I'm gonna find someone that I can actually help or they can help me. And like, that second part sounds bad. Like you don't go into it and be like, all right, someone's gonna help me. But you think about it in that sense of like where, who can be an ally in the game? Because you need allies. I mean, it's a cutthroat industry. Like, you have to be kind of a killer, and you know, you eat what you kill, and you got to go out and do stuff. But everyone, you meet the right people and talk to the right folks. Like I have a handful of really, really great mentors and close friends that honestly, a couple of them I got connected through from Marquette, and then some other ones was just like I went up to this guy, I was like, yo, you're doing cool stuff, can I talk to you? And he's like, sure. I'm like, that's not how I thought it was gonna go, all right. Like, but yeah, so don't be afraid, like everyone's just human. Like yeah, everyone's human.
All right.
I feel like that's a perfect line to end.
Yeah, everyone's human.
You're
Thank
all
you so
human.
much.
All of you. Thank you all for coming
Yeah.
tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.